Okay, so get ready to dive into this world where words, they actually become data. It's a fascinating challenge that you've given us to really explore how people are using the power of language to unlock deeper insights into finance.
Yeah, it's a field that's just exploding with
Yeah.
possibilities, right? I mean, we're moving beyond just the numbers, crunching the equations. Now we can actually tap into this rich, nuanced language that's found in everything. Corporate filings and news articles to, like, even social media chatter.
Exactly. And it's like suddenly we have this whole new dimension of information to work with, right? It's incredible.
And with the right tools, right, that information can be incredibly powerful. It can help us better understand everything from corporate strategy and market sentiment to even the very nature of risk and financial crises.
So buckle up, listener. We're about to decode the language of finance and reveal how natural language processing, or NLP, is changing the game.
Thank you for tuning in to Quantopian's Quant Radio, your AI-driven podcast exploring everything related to quantitative finance. If you enjoy this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on future releases. For more quant-focused content, join us at community.quantopian.com. There you can explore a wealth of resources, connect with fellow quants, engage in insightful discussions, and enhance your skills through our extensive range of online courses. Quant Radio is intended to help people develop their knowledge and skills in quant finance. This podcast is not intended to provide investment advice. And now, back to the episode.
Let's start with the basics. How does NLP actually work its magic in the financial world?
Well, you can think of it like this. NLP gives us a new set of lenses to see the financial world with greater clarity. For example, companies might use very specific language in their reports if they're trying to, hide bad news or downplay risks.
So NLP helps us see through the corporate spin.
Exactly. It's about reading between the lines, but on a massive scale. By analyzing patterns in language, we can uncover hidden patterns and relationships that numbers alone just wouldn't reveal.
That's what I love about this. It's like we're finally able to measure things that used to be considered intangible, like, sentiment or risk perception.
Precisely. Imagine you're an investor, right? And you're trying to decide whether to buy stock in a company. You could read their financial statements, sure, but you could also use NLP to analyze, let's say, the tone of their CEO's recent speeches or the language used in news articles about the company.
That could give me a real edge in understanding the true health of a company.
Exactly. And because NLP can process information so quickly, it can also help us identify emerging trends and potential risks before they fully manifest. It's like having an early warning system for the financial market.
Okay, I'm sold on the power of NLP. But, with so much textual information out there, where do researchers even begin? How do they choose the right NLP tools for the job?
That's a great question. It all starts with the research goal. Researchers use something called research objective categories, or ROCs, to kind of guide their choice of NLP tools.
ROCs. Sounds intriguing. Tell me more.
There are three main ROCs. The first is ROC targeted, which is like using a high-powered microscope to zoom in on very specific information within a text.
So if I'm a hedge fund manager looking for mentions of a specific type of investment strategy in a company's reports, ROC targeted would be my go-to.
You got it. Then there's ROC comparative, which is all about comparing and contrasting documents to identify similarities and differences.
So I could use this to see how companies in the same industry are talking about a particular risk, like climate change, or to track how a company's messaging changes over time.
Exactly.
Wow.
And finally, there's ROC holistic, which is like using a wide-angle lens to capture the big picture. It's used to extract broad themes and patterns from, large collections of documents.
So if I wanted to understand how the overall conversation about inflation is evolving in the financial press, ROC Holistic would be the right tool for the job.
Precisely. Choosing the right ROC is crucial for getting meaningful results. It's like using the right tool for a specific job in the real world. You wouldn't use a hammer to tighten a screw.
Of course not. Now, I'm really curious to hear about some specific examples of how these different ROCs are being used in practice.
Well, one of the earliest and most influential NLP methods used in finance is something called word lists.
Word lists.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty straightforward.
It is, in concept. Researchers create lists of words associated with specific concepts like positive or negative sentiment, risk, or uncertainty. Then they use these lists to analyze large volumes of text, counting how many times certain words appear.
So if I wanted to gauge the overall sentiment in a company's earnings call transcript, I could create a word list of positive and negative terms and see which ones pop up most frequently.
Exactly. And that's precisely what researchers started doing in the early days of NLP. They took dictionaries that were designed for general language, like the Harvard Psychosocial Dictionary, and just applied them to financial texts.
Makes sense. What could go wrong?
Well, as it turns out, context is key, especially in finance. Words that might be considered negative in everyday language can actually have different meanings in a financial context.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Think of a word like liability. In general conversation, it has a negative connotation.
Right.
But in finance, it's actually a neutral term referring to a company's financial obligations.
I see. So using a general purpose dictionary to analyze financial text could lead to some pretty inaccurate conclusions. What did researchers do about that?
That's where the groundbreaking work of Lougher and McDonald comes in. In 2011, they published this landmark study that showed how using specialized word lists, specifically designed for financial texts, could dramatically improve the accuracy of sentiment analysis.
So they basically created a financial dictionary.
And their work was like a game changer. The Lougher and McDonald sentiment word lists are now widely used to analyze corporate disclosures, assess risk, and even predict stock market movements.
Wow. It's amazing to see how these early studies laid the groundwork for the sophisticated NLP techniques we have today.
It's a testament to the power of combining linguistic expertise with computational methods, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. As researchers started working with these word lists, they began to develop even more powerful tools, like something called cosine similarity.
Okay, cosine similarity. Paint me a picture. How does it work?
Well, imagine you're looking at a map of language, right, where each word is represented by a point. Cosine similarity measures how close those points are to each other, revealing the semantic relationships between words and documents.
So words with similar meanings would be clustered together on this map, while words with opposite meanings would be far apart.
Exactly. And by using cosine similarity, researchers can actually compare entire documents based on the words they use, revealing hidden connections and patterns.
So if I wanted to find companies with similar business models, I could compare their annual reports using cosine similarity.
Precisely.
Oh, wow.
It's like a fingerprint for a company's operations. This method has been incredibly valuable for building dynamic industry classifications, grouping companies together based on the nuances of their language.
That makes sense. So are word lists and cosine similarity still the go-to tools for NLP in finance today?
Well, word lists remain like a foundational tool, especially for measuring document features like sentiment or readability. But cosine similarity, particularly when combined with more advanced techniques, has become even more powerful in recent years.
What kind of advanced techniques are we talking about?
Things like word embeddings, which take cosine similarity to the next level by capturing even more nuanced relationships between words.
Word embeddings, huh? This is where it gets really interesting, right?
It is. Imagine that map of language we talked about with cosine similarity. Word embeddings represent each word as a vector in a multidimensional space, capturing not just their similarity to other words, but also their relationships to concepts and ideas.
So it's not just about counting words anymore, but understanding their deeper meaning and how they relate to each other in a complex web of language.
Exactly. And that's what makes word embeddings so powerful. They can even recognize synonyms and analogies, going beyond simple word matching to capture the true essence of a text.
Wow, this is really blowing my mind. So you're telling me we can now use the power of language to understand the complex world of finance in ways that were never possible before.
Absolutely, and this is just the beginning. As NLP technologies continue to advance, we can expect even more groundbreaking discoveries in the years to come.
I can't wait to hear more. This is already giving me so many ideas about how I can apply these tools to my own financial research.
That's the spirit. NLP is opening up a world of possibilities for anyone who wants to gain a deeper understanding of finance.
This is truly exciting stuff, and it
Yeah.
sounds like we're just getting started.
We are. There are even more advanced techniques like precise anchor phrase queries, text regression, and thematic topic models that are helping researchers unlock even deeper insights.
What are those all about?
Well, imagine you're trying to understand a company's financial health, right? Instead of simply looking for individual words like investment or debt, you could actually search for specific phrases that reveal a deeper meaning.
So like searching for delaying investments due to lack of funding instead of just, investment, that gives you a much clearer picture of the situation.
Exactly. Precise anchor phrase queries allow researchers to identify very specific economic concepts in text with a high degree of accuracy. It's like having a laser-focused search tool, right, that can cut through the noise and pinpoint the exact information you're looking for.
I bet that's incredibly valuable for analyzing complex financial documents like corporate filings or regulatory reports.
It absolutely is.
Hmm.
For example, researchers have used precise anchor phrase queries to study everything from offshoring activities and hedging strategies to product life cycles and a company's exposure to inflation.
Wow, the applications seem endless. But what about when researchers want to go beyond simply identifying concepts and actually predict financial outcomes based on the content of text?
That's where text regression comes in. It's a powerful statistical technique that allows researchers to analyze text and forecast things like stock market movements or macroeconomic indicators.
It's like using language to predict the future.
Yeah, in a way it is. Can you give me an example of how this works in practice?
Absolutely. Imagine you're an economist trying to predict future employment growth. Traditionally, you might look at things like GDP growth, interest rates, and consumer spending. But with text regression, you can also analyze the language used in, let's say, news articles and social media posts to gauge the overall sentiment, right, about the economy.
So if people are feeling optimistic and using positive language about job prospects, that could signal stronger employment growth in the future. Researchers have found that text regression models can actually improve the accuracy of economic forecasts, even when accounting for traditional economic variables.
That's fascinating. It's like the words we use are a window into our collective expectations about the future. And NLP is giving us the tools to interpret those signals.
You got it. And this brings us to another exciting area of NLP, thematic topic models.
Okay, tell me about these topic models. What are they all about?
Imagine you have like a mountain of documents, right? Thousands of corporate filings, news articles, or social media posts. Thematic topic models can automatically sift through that mountain and uncover the main themes or topics that are being discussed.
So it's like having an AI assistant that can read through all those documents and tell you what they're really about.
Exactly. One of the most popular topic modeling techniques is called latent dirichlet allocation, or LDA.
LDA, what makes it so special?
LDA is like a master organizer for language. It represents documents as mixtures of different topics, and each topic is defined by a set of words that frequently occur together.
So it's like clustering words together based on their co-occurrence patterns? For example, a topic about, inflation might include words like prices, rising, economy, and interest rates.
Precisely. And by analyzing these clusters, researchers can gain valuable insights into the underlying themes and trends, right, in the data.
Can you give me a concrete example of how LDA has been used in finance? I'm really curious to see how this works in practice.
Absolutely. A recent study used LDA to analyze articles from the Wall Street Journal and discovered how various business themes evolved over time. They found that topics related to recessions were particularly important for predicting economic activity and stock returns.
That's fascinating. So LDA can help us understand the economic narratives that are shaping the markets and potentially even anticipate future economic downturns.
Exactly. And this is just one example. LDA has also been used to analyze corporate risk disclosures, predict stock returns, and even identify emerging risks in the financial system.
It seems like topic models are a powerful tool for understanding the big picture of what's happening in the financial world. They're like a lens that allows us to zoom out and see the forest for the trees.
They really are. And their ability to uncover hidden themes and connections has made them an indispensable asset for financial researchers.
I'm starting to see how all these different NLP methods are interconnected. They're like pieces of a puzzle that fit together to reveal a more complete understanding of finance.
That's a great analogy. Each method, right, brings its own strengths and perspectives, and by combining them, researchers can gain even deeper insights and unlock new possibilities, right, for understanding the financial world.
Okay, so we've covered precise anchor phrase queries, text regression, and thematic topic models. What other NLP tools are out there? I'm eager to hear about even more cutting-edge techniques.
Well, one area that's rapidly gaining traction is word embeddings, which we touched on briefly earlier.
Word embeddings, yes, you mentioned that they take cosine similarity to a whole new level, but I'm still a bit fuzzy on how they actually work.
Remember that map of language we talked about earlier, where words with similar meanings are located near each other?
Right.
Well, word embeddings take that concept and make it even more powerful by representing each word as a vector, right, in a multidimensional space.
Can you break that down for me in a way that's a bit easier to grasp?
Sure. Think of it like this, right? Each word is assigned a set of coordinates, right? that
Well,
capture its meaning and its relationships to other words. This allows us to measure not just the similarity, right, between words, but also their relationships to concepts and ideas.
so it's like each word has its own unique fingerprint that captures its essence in the vast landscape of language.
Exactly, and this ability to capture semantic meaning has made word embeddings incredibly powerful for tasks like sentiment analysis, document classification, and even machine translation.
I can see how that would be incredibly useful for analyzing financial texts. For example, you could track how the sentiment towards a particular company is changing over time by analyzing the words used in news articles and social media posts.
Precisely. Researchers have used word embeddings to study everything from investor sentiment and market trends to corporate culture.
This is amazing.
And as embedding technologies continue to evolve, we can expect even more innovative applications in finance.
This is also mind-blowing, but I have to admit, I'm starting to feel a bit overwhelmed by all these different NLP methods.
I understand it can be a lot to take in, but the key is to remember that each method is a tool, and the best tool for the job, right, depends on the specific research question that you're trying to answer.
That's helpful. So if I were a researcher just starting out in NLP, where would you recommend I begin?
I would start by familiarizing yourself with the basics of NLP, right? And the different research objective categories or ROCs. Once you have a good understanding of those foundations, then you can start exploring specific methods and tools that align with your research interests.
That sounds like solid advice.
And remember, there are plenty of resources available to help you along the way. Online tutorials, courses, and even open source NLP libraries can provide valuable guidance and support.
This is all so inspiring. It's like a whole new world of possibilities is opening up. But what about the really big picture? What are the ultimate implications of NLP for the future of finance? That's what I'm most curious about.
That's a great question and one that researchers are actively grappling with right now.
Yeah.
NLP is already having a profound impact on finance, but it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay. I'm on the edge of my seat. What's coming next? What should our listeners be paying attention to?
Well, one development that's creating a lot of buzz is the rise of generative AI and large language models. These are the kinds of technologies that power tools like ChatGPT, which can generate human quality text, answer your questions in an informative way, and even create original content.
Wow. It's pretty mind-blowing.
Mm.
But how are these large language models being used in the world of finance?
Well, imagine being able to instantly extract the key insights from, hours of corporate earnings calls.
Yeah.
That's something that large language models can do with remarkable accuracy.
So instead of analysts having to spend countless hours, poring over transcripts, they can actually have an AI assistant do the heavy lifting for them.
Precisely. These models can identify sentiment, extract key data points, and even flag potential risks or opportunities that might have been missed by a human analyst.
That's incredible. It's like having a team of, super-powered analysts working around the clock. What other applications are researchers excited about?
Another area where large language models are making a big impact is in the analysis of financial news and, social media.
Yep.
These models can sift through massive amounts of text data to identify like emerging trends, gauge market sentiment, and even predict stock price movements.
So it's like having a finger on the pulse of the market, but instead of relying on, gut feeling or intuition, you have an AI system that can actually analyze millions of data points in real time.
Exactly. And because these models are constantly learning and improving, their ability to generate insights is only going to get more powerful over time.
This is really exciting stuff. But I also have to ask, are there any risks or challenges associated with using these large language models in finance?
Of course. As with any powerful technology, there are potential downsides that need to be carefully considered. One challenge is the potential for bias. Since these models are trained on vast amounts of data, they can inadvertently reflect the biases that exist in that data.
So if the training data contains, historical biases about certain companies or industries, the model might perpetuate those biases. That's a serious concern. What are researchers doing to kind of mitigate that risk?
It's a top priority for researchers in the field. They're developing techniques to, identify and correct for bias in training data and to build models that are more transparent and accountable.
That's reassuring to hear. Are there any other challenges that researchers are facing?
Another key challenge is the black box problem. Large language models can be incredibly complex, making it difficult to understand how they, arrive at their conclusions.
So even if the model produces accurate results, we might not fully understand the reasoning behind those results. That could make it, difficult to trust the model's insights, especially when making important financial decisions.
You're exactly right. That's why researchers are working hard to develop more interpretable models that allow us to understand the why behind the what.
That makes sense. Transparency and explainability are crucial if we want to, use these models responsibly and ethically in the financial world.
Absolutely. It's an ongoing area of research and development. As these models become more sophisticated, we need to ensure that they're, aligned with our values and that they're used in a way that benefits society as a whole.
Well said. This has been an incredible deep dive into the world of NLP and finance. I feel like I've gained this whole new perspective on how language can be used to unlock powerful insights.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you.
And to our listeners, keep exploring. The world of finance is full of hidden insights, and with the power of NLP, you have the tools to uncover them.